Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Executive. I welcome all executive members and our officers and fellow councillors. And I don't think there are any members of the public here, but if they're watching on the webcast, they are most welcome to join us. Yes. So thank you all very much for coming. I hope you've all got access to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
Yep, we've received an apology for absence for Councillor Crystal.
Thank you. Number 2, leaders' announcements. I'd just like to remind you all that this meeting is being webcast, so please do use your microphones, do adjust them so that they're near to your mouths, and please would you speak into the microphones and speak loudly and clearly. It's very frustrating for the people watching on the webcast if they can't hear what anybody is saying, so please all speak up. I don't have any other announcements. So agenda item 3 is the minutes of our last meeting, which was on the 3rd of June this year. We have the minutes. I hope you have all been able to see them. Are you content that I should sign them as a correct record of that meeting? Would somebody like to propose the minutes? Thank you.
I propose them.
Yes, thank you. And second it? Councillor Hopewell. Thank you very much. All right. All those in favour of accepting these minutes? Thank you. I think that was unanimous. Thank you. That is carried. Agenda item number 4, declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? No, thank you very much. We'll move on then to agenda item number 5. This is the Gilston Area Monitoring Framework, pages 20 to 75 in your agenda packs. Councillor Vicky Glover Ward, Executive Member for Planning and Growth, will present this report. Thank you, Councillor Glover Ward.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. As members will be aware, the Council granted planning permission in January 2025 for 10,000 new homes in the Gilston area, alongside provision for 2 major new roads and bridges and the many facilities required for these neighbourhoods to thrive. The proposals are of a scale and complexity previously unseen in East Herts, and policy DEL4 of the district plan requires the council to monitor its progress annually. The Section 106 agreement associated with the planning permission also contains monitoring obligations for the provision of data and information to assist in decision-making relating primarily to education, transport and travel planning, and also economic development. There are also triggers and milestones for the delivery of on-site infrastructure and the payment of financial contributions towards the provision of off-site infrastructure. To provide a structured approach to the monitoring and delivery of the development, a monitoring framework has been developed. A review group comprising representatives from East Herts Council and Hertfordshire County Council, in addition to those required in the Section 106 agreement, will ensure the coordination and oversight of the various monitoring activities. The monitoring framework set out in the Council's approach to how information about the progress of the development will be publicised and shared with local communities and other stakeholders. Its objectives are to provide a mechanism for tracking the progress of the development throughout the planning build-out to help ensure delivery of homes, infrastructure and mitigations in accordance with the required development milestones and triggers, and a record of delivery. A basis for objectives, targets and indicators against which the development outcomes will be monitored, measured and evaluated. And clarity on how the development will be monitored, what methods will be used, which organisations and stakeholders will be involved in the process, and who will be responsible for what. Once the monitoring framework has been agreed, an annual monitoring report will be produced. The first monitoring report will be due in January 2026, which is 1 year after the grant of planning permission. This will be published on the Council's website so that the information is readily available to all interested parties. As such, I would like to propose that the Gilston Area Monitoring Framework attached to Appendix A be endorsed by the Executive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover-Ward. Do you have a seconder for this proposal? Is there a seconder? Oh, Councillor Britton. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for that presentation. Do any members have any questions or comments to make on this? Yes. Oh, Councillor Buckmaster. Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess I'm reading this as an introduction to the monitoring framework, which still needs to be written. Because no, okay. Then I think there are a few things I just would like to be clarified, because it read to me as if there was more work to be done. There are lots of things in there as I would expect them to be seen. There is reference, of course, to the potential for a unitary, although for the purposes of this paper, it's still split into East Herts and HCC. While stakeholders are mentioned, it doesn't particularly reference members. And I would have thought that for democratic purposes, that they should actually be specifically mentioned as part of the monitoring. If it's in there, I haven't seen it. And there's something else probably quite important as things move on. On page 43, it mentions it's important that there is clarity on individual developer and house builder roles and responsibilities throughout each stage of the development, particularly if land is sold on, because that's where things could change, which will be discussed at the regular liaison meetings between developers and the planning team. It then goes on to say it may be that more parties are involved and responsibilities split or shared, but the master developer will still be involved. And I guess what the community would like is assurance that they actually have the right to be informed, because there could be some particularly big changes between the master developer and whoever the land is sold on to.
Thank you. Councillor Glover-Ward, would you like to respond to that? Or
Yes, I'm happy to respond to that. So the master developer in question is probably more likely to be PFP than Taylor Wimpey, given that Taylor Wimpey have only got one of the villages, whereas PFP have got 6. In what would be envisaged is that PFP may wish to have other developers involved, in which case we cannot fetter their commercial decisions in that respect. However, PFP have been very clear at all the community forums that they will stay involved because they are interested in running all the affordable housing and other facilities that are going to come out of this. So I think it is in their interest. I don't see any reason why, once it is no longer commercially sensitive, why the community would not be informed that parcels or a parcel or parcels have been sold on to a different developer.
thank you. Is that
Yeah, it was just the other point around the community continuing to, well, having the right to be informed, but also involvement of members, which isn't specific within the paper.
So members, along with any other stakeholders, will be able to be involved in any development management forums which may come about, or in the community forums, and or directly via feedback on the monitoring that's going on, and also any regular reporting that is part of the monitoring.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Dunlop.
Thank you. I've got a few questions to run through here. Point 2.7, it talks about delivery and monitoring review group, and it talks about various people at East Herts District Council, Herts County Council, and key stakeholders. I just wanted to confirm if parish councils and neighbourhood planning group would be part of the key stakeholder group, or who else is likely to be in it.
I think for the purposes of that particular group, that would be key stakeholders like the Environment Agency or Natural England, or one of the larger key stakeholders. There is obviously a role for parish councillors to get involved and involved in the monitoring, and also there will be a role for the trust and the stewardship group. Parishes have the opportunity to put themselves forward to be in any of those groups, and also parish councillor input we would expect in the normal way as the eyes and ears on the ground. Again, with this, the community forums are the key because they are the main conduit for the wider community and parish councillors to input into the developers. But as you know, there is also direct liaison between developers and also parish councillors.
Thank you very much. Yes. Were there other questions?
I've got a few more.
Yes.
The Community Management Trust, section 5.3 relates to continual monitoring to enable issues to be identified very early on. And one of the things is perhaps a delayed infrastructure beyond the S106 trigger. I felt that the Community Trust in some way or another needs to be represented in that decision, because they will have key dependencies that they will have assumed. They will have revenue income, they will have their business plan based all around certain things happening. So I felt that they should be very heavily involved in any of those sorts of decisions, and to me it's not clear that that's the case.
Again, with any renegotiation of the Section 106, I would expect that to be being undertaken directly between the council and developers. However, I would also expect that the Community Trust would be consulted in terms of any impacts that would be felt by them, so that those can be mitigated. But I wouldn't expect them to be at the negotiation meetings.
Just a small typo. There's a reference to Appendix 2. I think it should be Appendix B in section 2.8. And my final one was there's mention of a development management forum, and I didn't quite understand how that fits and how it's different from the community forum. My understanding, and I could well be wrong, is that development management forums happened before planning application was granted.
With the Development Management Forum, if there are reserved matter applications for the villages, which could be for 50 plus homes, then there is the opportunity to have a Development Management Forum on that particular parcel or that particular reserve matter, so that it can be examined, particularly if there are perceived issues with it. So it is still open to all the tools of consultation that we have pre the main application are also available to the community going on throughout the process.
Just one more. As I see Appendix A, there's a table there, and some of these things have happened already. Is it possible to get an updated version, and will it be updated regularly as things happen, or will it be on a sort of quarterly, or what basis will it be updated?
The main monitoring reports will be issued annually, with the first one expected in January 2026. But I actually think these tables will be a very useful tool for the community forums, so I see no problem whatsoever with filling them in. The problem is that while some of this has already happened, we have to set the framework here, not give the updates to the framework, if that makes sense, which is why the things that have already happened haven't been filled in, because that's part of the reporting, not the monitoring framework.
Yeah, thank you. I understand, and we'll probably see an updated version at the community forum as you suggest. Great, thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Glover Ward. Are there any other questions or comments from anybody? No? All right, we'll move to a vote then. The recommendation is the Gilston Area Monitoring Framework attached at Appendix A be endorsed. Can I ask all those who are in favour, please to show with raising hands? Yes. Right, thank you very much. Nobody against that. That's carried unanimously. So thank you very much for that. All right, agenda item 6 is next. This is the Hatfield Forest Mitigation Strategy and Governance Arrangements, pages 76 to 129. It's Councillor Vicky Glover Ward again to propose this report.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Hatfield Forest is the finest surviving example of a small medieval royal hunting forest in Europe and offers local people unique access and recreational activities. It is within easy reach of East Hertfordshire residents, being located close to the B1256, the A120 and the M11. It is designated as a site of special scientific interest, and it's also a national nature reserve. It contains 2 scheduled ancient monuments and 4 listed buildings. There are 2 bodies who are obliged to ensure that the site is properly conserved and enhanced, these being the National Trust and Natural England. East Herts District Council, in partnership with Uttlesford, Harlow and Epping Forest District Councils, Natural England and the National Trust as landowners have been working to agree a way of mitigating the detrimental impacts of growing numbers of visitors on Hatfield Forest. This report looks to agree the mitigation strategy, the tariff to be placed on development within the zone of influence in East Herts, and the transition to this tariff being collected by development management when relevant planning applications are submitted. Over the last decade, the forest has experienced a doubling of visitor numbers. This rapid growth is unsustainable, and there are indications that designated and protected features are being degraded and damaged. This growth in visitor numbers is partly attributed to significant increases in housing completions, which will continue as new planned development gradually completes. The tariff will be applied to all new residential development within the zone of influence, which is an area covering a radius of 11.1 kilometres all around the forest, which includes the eastern part of East Herts as shown in Appendix D to the paper. The zone has been designated based on visitor surveys which look at the origin of visitors to the forest. The tariff apportions the cost towards the means of mitigation dependent on expected housing growth. It should be noted that the Gilston area, defined by policy GA1 of the East Herts District Plan 2028, is excluded from having to pay the tariff because of the extensive green infrastructure that is being provided as an inherent part of this development. It is expected that the tariff will be charged immediately once passed, and the process of transitioning to the tariff has already started, including updating the Council's website and putting in systems to collect and manage the contributions. The tariff is not yet reflected in the policies of the East Herts District Plan, as this was adopted prior to the tariff being conceived. Natural England will work with the Council to ensure that the tariff and its implications are reflected in policies for the new district plan. The planning policy team are working with the development management colleagues to ensure that appropriate procedures and triggers are in place to support the collection of the tariff within East Herts. Through liaison with Natural England, the Council has already collected some contributions. The formal agreement of the tariff and the procedures for managing and distributing them will enable these and future collected funds to be passed to the National Trust. As such, I would like to propose that the Executive recommend to Council that the final version of the National Trust Hatfield Forest Mitigation Strategy, version 6 and attached Appendix A, which includes the Site Access Management and Monitoring Measures, or SAMs, is approved as a basis for seeking a financial contribution for mitigation at Hatfield Forest. The apportionment of the SAMs between the 4 local planning authorities via a hybrid method, taking equal account of both the percentage visitor impact and the proportion of new housing relative to existing within the zone of influence is approved. The apportioned SAMS tariff for East Herts District Council is set to £540.07. The tariff applicable to new residential dwellings with immediate effect, subject to transitional arrangements to agreed appropriate legal, financial and administrative mechanisms being brought into place to allow the collection and transfer of funds. The draft governance agreement at Appendix B between the 4 local planning authorities and the National Trust as landowners is approved, and delegated authority is given to the Director of Legal, Policy and Governance to work on the final version, with an expectation that this is signed under seal in autumn 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover Ward. You are proposing this. Do you have a seconder? Yes. Councillor Britton. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do people have questions or comments? Oh, yes. Councillor Hoskin.
I like the idea of protecting a unique or if not the best example. It seems ambitious to be able to cover off 80 years worth, and I just wondered what sort of cost protection measures there are, and does this inflate with RPI, CPI? How does the per dwelling move on so that it keeps pace with actual costs?
I think I'm going to ask the team leader for planning policy to answer that one.
And I'm not sure of the answer. My understanding is that there's a rolling, the local planning authorities who've been discussing the tariff that were mentioned in the report are continuing to meet. So there's a continuing updating of the circumstances around the tariff. So the zone of influence, for instance, will be revisited and revised as visitor patterns change. So I think the expectation is that it will be reviewed as time goes on. I would like to check that and come back to the executive if that's possible, just to ensure that that's the arrangement, because I'm not entirely sure from memory what the arrangement is, but I know that there's a rolling review of some of the aspects of the tariff that go into the calculation of it.
If we can include that in the council paper, that'd be great.
And the follow-up was whether there was any so this is mitigation, isn't it? It's collecting monies for mitigation. Is there any thoughts about trying to control numbers, or is it important that we keep it as free access to whoever wants to visit?
I think that's the principle, is that it should remain as free access, because it is so unique in allowing the free access from different points, and it's got so much of a wealth of heritage there, as well as the natural environment, that I don't think there would be an appetite to fence it off.
Thank you. You mentioned that the new Harlow and Gilston would not be included because of there's already wooded, but like a green space there. Is the thinking there being that the anticipation is that those villages are less likely to go to Hatfield, or is it because of the fact they're already building green space? Yeah, that'd be great.
It's specifically Gilston, not Harlow. But Gilston in and of itself, if you look at the master planning, there is so much green space around it that the anticipation is that the majority of the people living there are going to walk out and see what's on their doorstep, rather than travelling, which isn't afforded to necessarily all people within the 11.1 kilometres.
Councillor Dahl.
Thank you. I just think it'd be useful to pull out for clarity who pays the tariff. Is it the people buying the house, or is it the builders, or us? Who's paying the tariff, please?
it will be the developers who pay the tariff, whether they add that amount of money onto the price of the house or whether they take a hit on their margins. I wouldn't know, and it's probably down to the individual house builders.
Are there any more comments or questions? No? All right. Thank you very much for that. All right. We'll move to the vote. Now, there are 5 parts to this vote. If people are content, I propose that we take it as a block, but if anybody thinks that we should take the items individually, I'll listen to that. No, I don't see anyone complaining. All right, we will vote on the recommendations as a block then. Please, all those in favour, will you show? Thank you. Thank you very much. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. So that was agenda 6. All right, we now move on to agenda item 7. And this again is Councillor Vicky Glover Ward, Executive Member for Planning and Growth. Yes, sorry, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Stocking Pelham Neighbourhood Designation. Neighbourhood planning was introduced by the government under the Localism Act in 2011, providing an opportunity for local communities to produce a planning document for their local area to influence future development. Stocking Pelham Parish Council submitted an application for the designation of the whole of Stocking Pelham Parish area as a neighbourhood area on the 27th of May 2025. This report considers that application, which is for the whole of Stocking Pelham Parish area. The application was made in writing and includes a statement explaining why the area is considered appropriate for designation as a neighbourhood area, a statement confirming that the application has been made by a relevant body, and a plan setting out the area to which the application relates. The letter and plan form Appendix A and Appendix B of the report. There are no plan proposals at this time. There are 2 main areas of consideration to take into account when determining an application for the designation of a neighbourhood area. Firstly, maintaining the existing boundaries of already designated neighbourhood plans, and secondly is that a specified area must be one that consists of or includes the whole or any part of the area of the parish council. Both of these considerations have been met for this application. In light of this, the designation of Stocking Pelham neighbourhood area for neighbourhood planning purposes is supported, and as such, I would like to propose that the application for the designation of Stocking Pelham neighbourhood area submitted by Stocking Pelham Parish Council be supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover Ward. You're proposing this. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Wilson, thank you. All right. Are there any comments or questions on this? Yes, Councillor Dar.
It'd be really, I really love neighbourhood planning. I think they're fantastic things for involving the local community. But could you just clarify with this for the audience what's happening with it, because the government has taken away the money for neighbourhood planning, haven't they? So how's this one being funded?
Once an application has been made, we have to take it through as a valid application. We have to take it through as a neighbourhood area. It would be down to the parish council to determine funding. I don't know whether they have actually confirmed how they'll be funding it in light of the fact that the government is no longer funding neighbourhood planning, despite stating that all planning should be plan-led.
The parish council have been made aware of the ending of the funding. They've not raised it as a concern. So our suspicion is they have a means of funding it. Maybe they have some budget available to do that. Maybe they have some wealthy benefactor. I don't know. But they are aware of the ending of the funding and they still wish to proceed exploring a neighbourhood plan.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll move to a vote then. All those in favour of supporting this application for the designation of Stocking Pelham neighbourhood area submitted by Stocking Pelham Parish Council, that it should be supported. All those in favour, please show. Right, thank you very much. Thank you. It's unanimous again. All right. Now come on to agenda item 8, which should have been Councillor Ben Crystal, but since he is not able to be here, I will try to present this report. This is all about refreshing our LEAF priorities and submitting our annual report. Executive members are required to review the performance over the last year, 2024 to 25, and we're asked to review the proposed amended LEAF priorities for 2025-26, taking on board any feedback from overview and scrutiny, and we recommend the Council to adopt the new priorities. So we are reviewing our progress against last year's LEAF priorities and considering the amended ones which are listed. On the 28th of February 2024, Council approved its new LEAF corporate priorities. These set out the strategic priorities of the Council and were grouped under the following 4 headings. L for listening, open and transparent. E for environmentally focused. A for acting with the community. And F for being fair and inclusive. Under each of these headings are a series of sub-objectives and actions which officers were tasked with delivering. The paper to the Council can be found in our records and our documents. A further, more detailed set of actions, projects and measures were then implemented at an operational level. This framework helped to inform the delivery plans for services, teams and individual staff performance goals. In theory, every member of East Herts Council staff should be able to relate their day-to-day actions to strategic delivery of LEAF priorities agreed by members. With the 2024-25 year completed, progress against the LEAF priorities can be found in Appendix A, which sets up updates against each area in detail. The LEAF priorities are kept under review by Executive on an annual basis and adjusted, amended as required. This enables the Council to change priorities to accommodate new challenges, e.g. in national legislation and local issues. For 2025-26, the Executive are keen to stay with the LEAF framework with an update to some of the sub-objectives. These reflect the fact that progress has been made in some areas, but also that new challenges have arisen which need to be accommodated. The proposed new LEAF framework is presented below in our papers alongside the previous version to illustrate what has changed. Please note this request follows on from discussion at Overview and Scrutiny Committee, where members wanted to see the 2 iterations of LEAF side by side. So in your papers, you will see these objectives. I don't propose to read them all out, but I will comment on some of the changes which have taken place. Under 2.7, listening, open and transparent, there is a new one. We should engage the community in local government reorganisation discussions. This is new because this is a new edict from the government, the Labour government, which wants to reorganise local government. So we now have a new objective that we must engage our community with some discussion and consultation about this. Then there's another change in environmentally focused. At the end, there's a new one. We're maximising the positive environmental impacts with the delivery of the new waste contract. And this new waste contract should improve our recycling rate. So that will be very good for the environment. So that is another new change. And then finally, with being fair and inclusive, right at the end, one of our objectives was to explore replacing a strong leader and cabinet system with a committee system. There has been a working party committee looking at this. They have met several times, but now this has all been overtaken by the central government, Labour government, saying it wants to reorganise local government. So it seems it would be a pointless exercise for us to now try to change some of our local arrangements. So that has been removed as one of our objectives. So those are the changes. That's under the LEAF priorities. We then have to consider our report as to how we have done against all our objectives over the last year. This is a very detailed report, and I do thank our officers very much for putting this all together. I think we've not shied away from looking at what we've done in a candid and open way. So I don't know if you've all had a chance to read it. There is one thing which, there are several things that our rating apparently for our website is not as good as we would hope it to be. But I know that officers are now working very hard to address this, and we are having a different system for some consultations. So I don't know if anyone has any comments on anything which they can see in the report. It is very detailed. I think we've done really quite well on lots of things, but yes, the officers have not held back where criticism was necessary. So I invite, well, I need to have a seconder. If someone will second this for me. Yes. Oh, Councillor Dow. Oh, Councillor Dumont. Thank you. All right. So if anyone has questions or comments, I will do my best to answer them. Thank you. No, yes, Councillor Gubble-Ward.
I know while we haven't hit perhaps all the targets that we had, I think that we've done amazingly in the 2 years since we've taken over as administration. And I'd like to really thank officers for all the hard work that they've put in, because as councillors, we just set the strategy and they do all the work. So thank you so much, guys.
Yes, I'm sure we would all agree with that. Thank you. Councillor Dumont.
Does this report come to full council next? Does this report come to full council, or is this something? I was just making the observation, really, that this is a sort of evaluation of our own performance, and I know things that lots of 45 or so members who are not in the exec, but this would have been a good place to comment, but nobody has.
Well, I would think they'll have an opportunity to comment when it comes to full council, if they wish. Yes, yes. So, but there is a lot of meat in this paper. Yes, a lot to look at. Yes. Thank you. All right, I've got to find out what. So, well, you've all got the papers. You can all study it all. So we have to see. So the recommendations we have tonight are that the executive members review the performance over the year. So this is what we're doing in these papers. We are reviewing it all. And that executive members review the proposed amended LEAF priorities for 25-26 and take on board any feedback from overview and scrutiny. And then we will recommend that council should adopt the new priorities. So is that clear? All right, so all those in favour of accepting these recommendations. Thank you very much. Thank you. That is carried unanimously. So thank you very much for that. We now move on to agenda item 9, which is Parking Enforcement Contract Award. Pages 157 to 164 in our agenda papers. And you have to note that Appendix A is restricted. So if people want to ask questions about that, we have to move into part 2. Right, Councillor Tim Hoskin, Executive Member for Environmental Sustainability, will present this report. Thank you, Councillor Hoskin.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. And yes, so here we are. We've got a recommendation for a parking enforcement contract award. And I guess it's worth just reminding ourselves what a parking enforcement contract actually looks after. So there are 4 key elements. One is on-street enforcement of parking. The second one is off-street parking enforcement. And then the provision, support, licensing and management of a fully hosted web-based IT system for penalty notices and permits. And also dealing with our car park pay and display machine maintenance, cash collection, counting and banking service. So a pretty comprehensive list of tasks for our new service provider to work through, but also something that is essential to keep the parking machine working and making sure that our residents can enjoy parking, a convenient parking. So the recommendation for the executive this evening is that the parking enforcement contract be awarded to bidder B. We can explore that in further detail, but we'll have to go off camera to be able to do that. And this is subject to Welwyn and Hatfield Council Cabinet also approving. So the tender is on behalf of Stevenage Borough Council, ourselves and Welwyn Hatfield Council. This is the triumvirate that went into the contract back in 2019 and still exists. We have delegated authority from Stevenage, Welwyn and Hatfield take it to their cabinet, and that will take place on the 5th of August. So we are ahead of the curve in terms of making our decision this evening. So the original contract was put in place in January 2018 and it expires in January 2026 following a 2-year extension back in 2024. So we're in good time. We've got the due processes in place and it's allowed the negotiations and discussion of the content to take place without any undue pressure. You can see the ratings that have been attributed to the 3 bids which were considered through this process, and I hope you'll agree that there is a clear winner in bidder B that pops out of the process. Contract is for 6 years with the option of 1 additional extension of 3 years, and that's at the discretion of the authorities. And with that, I'd like to recommend that we approve the award of this to bidder B, subject to approval from the Welwyn and Hatfield Cabinet.
Thank you, Councillor Hoskin. Do you have a seconder for this proposal? Councillor Dar? Thank you. All right, are there any questions or comments on this? No, is everybody happy? Yes. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I'm assuming this is going to work as a shared service, not just 3 councils coming together, which is good. And we've got experience over the years of shared services working. Obviously, I don't know how it will pan out. I just wanted, while the officers are here, I wanted to express my appreciation of the help that they give. As a county councillor, I'm often asked by residents to enforce various areas, and of course enforcement officers can't be everywhere at once. I think sometimes residents wish they could be, but I just wanted to say thank you to our team who actually do what they can to come out and help when they can. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that, Councillor Buckmaster. Yes, I'm sure we would all agree with that. Yes, thank you. Councillor Hoskin.
Yeah, perhaps if I can just add that, and I think that's heartfelt thanks from all of us. I think having been out with them for a day, doing not enforcement, just watching. But they're very human as well. It sort of goes against the classic traffic warden, perhaps mental image. But they actually deal with it in a really sensible way, or the experience that I had was they dealt with issues in a really sensible way. And often sort of we're advising people of what might happen rather than actually slapping tickets on everything. So it's, I think that they deal with it very well.
That's very good to hear. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? All right then. Well, there is the recommendation that the parking enforcement contract be awarded to bidder B following a tender process, subject to Welwyn Hatfield Council Cabinet also approving the outcome of the tender process. So all those in favour, please show. Yes, that's. Oh, is that one of? Oh, yes. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much. All right. Agenda item 10. This is the revised draft statement of gambling principles. And once again, I think it is Councillor Vicky Glover Ward. Yes, I'm sorry you're having to work so hard this evening.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Best one and the most exciting to at last. As a district council, we're required to have a statement of gambling principles, which is often referred to as a gambling policy, and this must be reviewed periodically. Whilst East Herts historically has low numbers of gambling licences, as illustrated in the report on page 166, with around 200 to 230 per annum over the past 3 years, it is important to have a robust statement of principles should applications for other types of premises be received in the future. East Herts has very low numbers of complaints regarding gambling. Over the last 5 years, the only gambling complaints that have been received related to poker in pubs. Poker is permitted within certain limits without the need for a licence, so whilst matters have been looked into, they have not resulted in any enforcement action. Since the last statement of principles was published, there have been no changes to the relevant legislation or guidance that require changes to the statement. Officers have taken the opportunity to review the wording to try and make the statement clearer on what can be a complex and slightly dry subject. The members of the Licensing Committee reviewed the draft statement of principles at their meeting on the 18th of June 2025 and did not propose any amendments to me as Executive Member for Planning and Growth to be incorporated into the paper. The chair of the Licensing Committee commented that she thought that the detail in the report was extensive and that it was reassuring to have such a policy ready if needed. So I'd like to propose that the executive reviews and comments on the draft statement of gambling principles and that we approve the final draft for public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover Ward. Do you have a seconder for this proposal? Councillor Dumont, thank you. All right, are there any questions or comments? Members, yes. No, is everybody happy with it? Yes. All right then, let's move to a vote. The recommendation that the executive reviews and comments on the draft statement of gambling principles and we approve a final draft for public consultation. Will everyone who's in favour, please raise their hands and show. Thank you very much. That is unanimous. That is carried. So thank you all very much. So then we move to final item on the agenda, number 11, urgent business. Well, I have not been informed of any urgent business. Don't know if anyone, the officers have anything to raise. Yes, no. All right then. Well, it just remains for me to thank you all very much for your attendance this evening, and thank you to officers very much for attending and also for all your work in the background helping us all. We do appreciate it all. So thank you all very much. And yes, thank you Democratic Services and the gentleman over there who's doing the webcast. So thank you all very much. And so at whatever it is, 10 to, oh goodness, is it 10 to 8? Yes. All right. Meeting is finished. Thank you very much. Yes, thank